Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting episode. I'm sure it's going to stir up a lot of conversation, a hardcore basketball topic for you guys today that you definitely want to stick around for. So please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as y'all know, just this, I believe, was Saturday or Friday, we produced the show reacting to an article where Isiah Thomas has some words to say to Michael Jordan. Now, all of us know the history, the beef between Isiah Thomas and Michael Jordan spanning over 3 decades now. No love lost. We even played an audio of what Michael Jordan had to say about Isiah Thomas's explanation at the end of the game for all of them, the Detroit Pistons ignoring the Bulls. And he said that he doesn't believe a single word that was coming out of Isiah Thomas's mouth. And then Isiah Thomas then said, after he was watching the show, he basically said everybody was calling Jordan an a-hole, right? And then this guy's calling me this, but everybody in this episode is saying that about Jordan. So Jordan owes me an apology. We produced a show around that, and everybody gave their opinion. Now, over the weekend, I was surfing the internet, and I think I saw this on, if I'm not mistaken, I saw this on Facebook. Is one of these like posts or whatever it is. And when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, this is pretty interesting. So I screenshotted it. And I was actually going to we're going to produce another show around these quotes. And then another idea came to me for this particular show here. And I want to read the quote for you that Isiah Thomas posted on Twitter. He said, "When you hold your opponent to under 100 points, your 30 points can dominate a game. When your opponent scores 120, 130, the individual's 30 is not dominant. That's why I get paid to teach you, not debate with you." And apparently Isiah Thomas was responding to the person right there. And when I read that quote, it began to make me think. It began to make me think about Michael Jordan. And I realized what Isiah Thomas inadvertently just said was, he's essentially saying that in order for you to dominate a basketball game or to be considered one of the greatest, you need to dominate both ends of the floor. And in my opinion, and according to the information that we have out there, there's no question that Jordan is probably the best two-way player of all time, making him the undisputed greatest player ever. Now, if we look at Michael Jordan's resume, and it's very, very long. If you look at Jordan's resume, Michael Jordan, in his career, in his 15-year career, 13 or 12 with the Bulls, if I'm not mistaken. He won 6 championships. We know that. He won 6 finals MVPs. We're aware of that. 14-time All-Star, 5-time regular season MVP. He won defensive player. He did rookie of the year, slam dunk contest. We know all of that about Jordan. But the point that Isiah made, when you go back and you superimpose it over Jordan's career, you quickly realize that, wait a minute, this guy's saying that Jordan is the greatest ever. Now let's look at it. Jordan, in his NBA career, had 10 scoring titles. 10, okay? Which I believe is the most in NBA history. He holds the playoff record for scoring average all time of 33.4 points per game. That is his playoff average. That is the highest of all time, higher than Wilt Chamberlain. In addition to that, he also holds the record for the highest regular season scoring average of all time, again higher than Wilt Chamberlain at 30.1 points per game. In addition to that, let's just think about this. He made 9 all-first defensive teams, and he won a Defensive Player of the Year award. And to prove Isiah's point about holding teams, if I just give you guys one season of the Chicago Bulls, we'll look at the 1991-1992 season of the Chicago Bulls. That season, the Chicago Bulls were holding opponents, and I believe they were number 3 in the NBA, to 99.5 points per game. Listen to that. And they were scoring 109.9 points per game. That year, MJ averaged 30.1 points per game. And Jordan and the Chicago Bulls had multiple seasons like that, with him averaging over 30, the Bulls holding opponents to that, close to that 100-point mark, and then scoring obviously above it to be beating them. And to me, I think there's no greater argument for Jordan being the GOAT. And there are a lot. I think there's no greater argument for Jordan being the GOAT than him being the most dominant two-way player to ever play the sport. There's some players that could dominate at various aspects of basketball. Some people is with their passing. Some people is with their rebounding. Some people is with their scoring. Some people is with other things that they do. But in the case of Jordan, I think 2/3 of basketball, obviously there's more, but if you look at it in a simplistic way, I think 2/3 of basketball is scoring, defending, and then the third part would be playmaking. Jordan absolutely dominated in those aspects. Absolutely, in a way that no one else has. I was watching a game today of an old NBA Finals game where Shaq scored like 40 points. I think he got 8 assists, 10 plus rebounds against the New Jersey Nets. And he put on an absolute clinic on how a center should dominate a basketball game, to use the words of Bill Walton, who was covering that game. But Shaq was dominating the game really from the offensive side of the floor in terms of his presence. He was getting some block shots. But Jordan, imagine for a second that you have a guy that would dominate a game offensively and then on the defensive side of the floor do the exact same thing for years at a time. I think Isiah Thomas may not have realized that he gave people like us here who pay close attention to this GOAT debate. He gave us ammunition because, to me, I think it just exposes the greatness of Michael Jordan even more. Jordan is one of the few athletes in terms of, we're talking about the NBA. Jordan is the only guy that the more you dig into his career and you research it, the more you realize that Jordan, in a way, for as crazy as it sounds, is underrated. As crazy as it sounds, the more you discover about this guy, it's like you discover some head-scratching stats about him that you really don't discover about any other players. Just yesterday, I think they put out the record that Kevin Durant, I think, either tied or passed Michael Jordan for the most 25-point games to start a name. That's just one record. Jordan has some of the freakiest stats. Some of the freakiest stats in NBA history. Like, freaky stats. So to me, man, I just think this is just more evidence. I mean, for the people that already knew that Jordan was a GOAT, this is just more ammunition for them. But for the people that were kind of on the fence, trust me, as from a Kobe Bryant fan, there's been nobody like this cat. There's been nobody like him, man. He's just on a totally different level. So the question to the audience is this: what do you think makes Michael Jordan the greatest player of all time? And if you notice, I didn't really base my argument on finals MVPs and championships. You can dominate a Jordan debate from so many different angles. You don't even have to use championships. You can use so many other things. There are very few players in history that you can do that with.